Hi everyone, vickieverlie here to do another Galactic Heritage video. This is one goes way back to the late 80s. We were driving up from Florida up to Ohio, and we went through the Blue Ridge Mountains. Always one of my favorite places to drive through, always. It's so magical. And we were above the clouds. The clouds were all kind of seeped in between the cracks in the mountains, and it was just really, really cool. And I had this major vision. And at the time, I wasn't really doing any psychic work. My kids were little. I was doing that. I know I was bartending and stuff like that. I wasn't all that tuned into my psychic stuff at that time, but I got this major download. So then I write about it in the book. Okay. And this was from book 3, the latest book, The Way of the Spirit. I channeled this answers on September 20th, but the original event happened in the 80s. Okay, so here we go. I want to ask about the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's been years, but every time I've driven through there, I've sensed the magical energy that resides there. At one time, I dreamt of having a music studio built into one of the mountains. The energy is undeniable. I thought I might have been a part of Atlantis that slammed in the main continent. Is that so? And they answer, it was an outpost of Atlantean civilization at one point. There is more than meets the eye beneath the mountaintops, great deposits of gems and minerals that emit high frequencies. This is known by your geologists, but they have only scraped the surface of what lies beneath. And then they start showing me these visions. This was at the channeling session in September a couple years ago. Okay, I believe I was being shown a large array of stones with one huge stone in the middle. I think it's green, but sometimes it might turn red. They are wrapped in metal, almost like a giant amulet or Merkaba or something. It seems to be in a cave, but it doesn't look very safe or stable. It's like it's crumbling or something. And I got this off eBay. I'm going to try to hold it like right in front of my face so you can see it. I bought it somewhere, maybe Etsy or eBay. But this kind of reminds me of it, but they weren't pointed. They was more embedded, almost like an amulet. But when I saw this, whenever I bought it, it reminded me so much of that, what I just described. So I say, well, what is this place? And they say an ancient navigational region, also a power source generator, millions of gigawatts of power. It served as a power grid for vast regions of the countryside. And I ask, well, is it still operable? Because in the vision, I see a guy with a long beard sort of manning the controls or something. And they say, this is a remnant from another era of time, yet it does exist in another dimensional level. And I say, well, the cave is crumbling and he's trying desperately to save this device. And then they go on to say, his family has been caretakers to this Constellarius, they were calling it. See, I'm wondering if I attached that word Constellarius because that's a real thing in our human language, which is like that thing that rotates with the planets. It's like a metal thing and you rotate it around. I'm sure you've seen them. So I'm saying Constellarius, but I'm not 100% sure that's actually the right word, but that's what we're going with, okay? His family has been the caretaker to the Constellarius for many generations. And I say, he looks like he's from biblical times. He's dressed in a robe with an embroidered border and long hair, long white hair and a beard. And they say, yes, the Earthwalkers roamed the entire world at that time, including the area that you were speaking of. And I'm like, well, is it still intact? I'm seeing a vision of it still being there, but instead of a cave, there's only a few feet of space above it. Yeah, it was like in this collapsed cave, and there was just this little bit of space kind of around it. And they say, yes, while the energy was weakened, there was still enough strength left to hold back the mountain from completely crushing it. Since then, the rocks and other debris have settled into place, holding the pocket of space just above it. And then I say, I'm seeing a vision of it occasionally glowing with little bursts of light, almost like a flashlight whose battery is dying. And they say it is not dying. It is recharging beneath the Earth's surface. Connections need to be repaired and brought back to full capacity when the time is right. And then I say, I'm seeing metal parts being reconnected to make it fire up again. It does look quite a bit like a giant amulet laying on the ground. And I say, is that where the idea for an amulet came from? And then they say, yes, the Constellarian was a commonplace in the ancient world. Earthwalkers, one and all, would wear them to attract energy. They also were worn by slaves, built into breastplates to keep track of them and punish them when necessary. The ancients knew of the power of the gemstones and used them for a variety of functions. There was no reliance on fossils, as is the norm in your society. And then I say, well, so there's more than one of these? And they say, yes, throughout the world at that time space. Not all were identical, each used the natural resources from the area, but the principles were the same, harnessing the energy through light and sound rather than burning fuel. Just as a car battery is different from a flashlight battery or computer battery or phone, all perform the same function more or less. So it is with the energy transmitters of the ancient world. And then I say, well, I want to ask about a specific event that happened while driving through the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is the thing. Years ago, I got a vision of a beautiful star lady in a white gown. She's in a white gown. See here, I have her in a blue gown, but I'm not changing it. This is right. I know it is. Okay, so in the white gown, in long white flowing hair. It's not. This is kind of like a little bit overexposed in this on this computer screen, but she stood atop the mountain across from a young girl. Maybe the girl was maybe 11 or 12 with long wavy hair as well. The lady wore a crown of crystals, and she took the crown from her head and placed it on the girl's head. I always thought that the girl was me, even though I was in my mid-20s or so when this happened. And they say, yes, it was a part of you, a soul memory from another time imprinted on that exact location. And then I said, I thought the star lady was maybe my grandmother in this life. That my grandma was the one that was psychic and had the tarot cards and did all this. I've talked about her in a lot of the videos, but she went to Lily Dale and Edgar Casey. You know, she was a psychic from Russia. Her family was from Russia. But anyways, I thought the star lady may be my grandmother in this life. Although she was still alive at the time, she was slipping into dementia. And they say the lady was your grandmother in that time, and she passed the crystal crown onto you, princess of the realm. There's a correlation to your current 3D life at that time, as your grandmother was exiting the earth plane. The psychic abilities were being passed on to you to carry on into future generations. And then I said, well, tell me more about the crystal lady and my life in that time. And they say, you were of royal line, an early line of hybrid star people colonizing the planet. And then I'm talking and I'm saying, I'm seeing it. It seems like a small group. There are these little structures like glass houses lit up all along the mountainside. I assume they are powered by the constellaries, but I don't see it anywhere. And they say it is hidden deep within the cave, out of sight of those who would usurp its energy. And I say, tell me more. They say, your people were very advanced and great healers. They are on a mission of peace. And I say, I see them reaching out to plants and herbs in the environment. The people are glowing with light, and their aura extends to the plant and lights it up too. That's what I tried to illustrate over here, but they're not really glowing, but those sparkly things that are around them, that's them fusing those plants with the energy. And they lights up too. The plants are lighting up too. And they say, yes, they are embodying the plant with healing energy, altering the DNA to provide healing properties required for the 3D human vessel. And then I say, so they interbred with Earth humans. Yes, they are embodying the plant with the healing energy, altering the DNA to provide healing properties required for the 3D human vessel. And then I say, so they interbred with the humans that were here? And they say, no, not initially. Many alterations were required to get a specimen that was suitable. They also altered their own DNA. The grandmother spirit was one of the first of the new humans, if you will. Living at high altitudes was also required, as it more closely aligned with the atmosphere needed to exist. The time had come for the grandmother to return to the ship, and she was passing on the knowledge of rulership to you. You had been training since birth to take on this role and were well prepared. The crystal crown also carried knowledge more than a mere adornment. It was an antenna of sorts to pick up the transmissions from home. And I say, well, when they were talking about the time coming for the grandmother to return to her ship, I was seeing waves of energy, almost like the wind currents in the air or riptides in the water. They say, yes, this is true. This is right and true. There are many currents in space as well. The experienced space travelers use these currents and portals to travel with ease. That is why the star grandmother was leaving at this time of alignment. And I said, well, what happened to them? And they say they are scattered about somewhat through your interbreeding, but never took a strong hold as some other races. They leave behind a legacy of medicinal plants they created and the imprint of peace. So I thought that was cool. Yeah, I wanted to take a second. I thought I had it open, but I don't, and I'm not going to be able to find it real quick. But the spaceship. So I wanted the spaceship to be. It's more, and there's light language everywhere through. There's prints available of this if you resonate with it or you like it. But the spaceship itself, it's not a metal spaceship. It's not made of metal like we think of it. It's more of a blending with the atmosphere. It's more of like opening this portal. And even though I did notice while I was doing the video that the dress is blue instead of white, I still feel like that's the way it's meant to be. I spent quite a while. All that is light language. You can see all those waves in the air, and then the beams coming down out of the spacecraft or the portal. That's all light language. I mean, I worked on this for a long time. It looks really washed out, but it's not. It's much more saturated. There's something about maybe it's the light in here, but like they're not that white, you know. It's much more colorful. And yeah, so those are the Blue Ridge Mountains with all the colorful purplish blues. And over to the right here, you catch a glimpse. There's that little guy. He's in the cave. I was gonna try to illustrate the cave underneath, or the power source thing, that whatever they call it. And the name that I got for them was the Moolaree. I'm calling them the Moolaree, but at the time I wasn't sure if it was Moolaree or Moolaroo. And what I think it is now, although again, I don't think they're really language, you know, all these all these space people, language is you know, like we used to say, language is fundamental, language is rudimental, rudimentary or something. Um, but I thought later that it might be kind of like a pronoun, like Moolaree or Moolaroo, like, you know, elle, il in français, you know, like the different conjugations of a verb. But I've been calling them Moolaree, but Moolaroo is also, I think, like another derivative or another, you know, another version of their name or something like that. Yeah, so there's the glass houses. Although the glass houses were actually kind of more round and dome-like, and they were definitely glass, and they had like shimmers. I tried to, when we get back to it, you can maybe see when it comes back around. I was trying to illustrate some of the, you know, like the shimmery, almost like that old-timey glass. What do they call that? Like carnival glass, where it has like shimmery color in it. You know, it's kind of along those lines. Yeah, so this is just looking at the sky and all the different layers. And then those three orbs and those little orbs, I don't really know, but something, as I was painting it, it felt right to put those in. I don't know if they're planets or what they really are. And then that's the energy being beamed down. And like in the original version, I thought she was taking off the crown, but I felt real strong when I did this that I wanted to leave the crown, like they both have a crown, but only the young princess's crown is getting that getting that download, getting that supercharged thing. Yeah, you can see some of the colors when we zoom in on the thing. It's those pinks and light blues. I was trying to capture some of that. And the girls off to the left there, they're infusing, you know, the plants with things. So it was really intense. You know, a lot when I did post a little excerpt of this, you know, it's by the time this video airs, there will be prints available. Okay, so but a lot of people were like, "Ooh, it's so cool." It's so they resonate. I almost feel like it's probably a soul memory. Just like with the Africana, you know, even though people of all races were like, "Ooh, it's so cool," but you know, a lot of my friends are musicians, and I think that because there was so much musical energy coming through there, that I probably, because it seemed familiar with me with the Africana video too, and yeah, I probably had an incarnation there too. And I think a lot of my friends, maybe who are musicians, also spent time in that zone or that realm, you know. But yeah, the Moolaree, they didn't really make it. They never took a stronghold, but they leave behind the gift of the medicinal plants. Now, I don't remember exactly what the plants were, but if you get to the bottom of this video, you can see that what I started doing is using plants that I know are medicinal in this time frame. So the main ones I used was the purple coneflower, which of course its root is the echinacea, which a lot of people are familiar with. But I got out the old medicinal plant book, and I was trying to copy a lot of them. that are in the grass and everything and the plants around them. But I also thought I think some of them they probably aren't they don't really look like they really do now, I would say, I would guess, I feel like they don't. All right, everybody. So another starseed heritage, early seeding of the earth. Again, it's so washed out. It doesn't look so white in the actual colors and prints, and you'll be able to see those. At the time I'm filming this, I'll be going to have an Etsy shop again, but I've changed around my things in the future. You maybe wherever you can always go to my link tree or my website, and you can find out where prints will be available of it. Yeah, so the see down there, those the coneflowers. I think those are lupines or lupines. I was trying to illustrate just some plants that I know now that have medicinal, properties. I was trying to kind of put those in. So, all right, everybody, Moolaree, Blue Ridge Mountains, magical, magical place. Be so cool if we could find that thing, wouldn't it be? They said they're all over the world, something like this, but more like an amulet, and the things weren't pointy, more just like an amulet with the different color stones around the central round stone. It was kind of, when I saw this thing, I was like, oh, wow, that reminds me of that vision of the Moolaree and the power source beneath the mountain. But there's some kind of energy going on there. And I knew there was gemstones there because all throughout there you can go and they have places you can stop, and they have the buckets of sludge, and then you can go through and try to find gemstones and stuff. There's gemstone mines all over the South, the Southeast in the United States. Rubies, emeralds, quartz crystals, all kinds. It'd be a fun trip. I always wanted to do that because besides even the metaphysical properties, I used to be kind of a little bit of a rock hound too. But here they are, the Moolaree. Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of I keep wanting to say the Starship, but it's the Starseed Lineage video series of the Transmissions for Humanity, which this one I think was out of book 2, didn't I say? But there's a lot. Can I get it to come up? There we go. Book 2. There's 3 in the series as of recording this video, and I have started on the 4th book, but I don't know if it's been a little slow going. I may just end up making videos like this with little stories in them from here on out, but we'll see. We'll see what goes on. But if you are interested, you can check out. They're available in paperback. They're available on Kindle, and you can get them on Audible as well. So thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later. Bye.